Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Denis Shapovalov versus Andy Murray, Wimbledon 2021, round 3. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. The lefty Canadian is moving on. He takes out Murray in 3 rather straightforward sets, 6-4, 6-2, 6-2. Murray's run at Wimbledon over. Again, I think, first of all, it was good to see him back. It was obviously... It's been a while, and it was looking unlikely that he'd make it here, and it was a disappointment in 2019 when he did not make it to Wimbledon after kind of thinking that was his goal and he would retire after Wimbledon. He never made it there, so it was great to see him back on center court. And of course, I've covered both of his matches now thus far. The one against Nicholas Basilashvili, the win, an impressive one and a big one, and then his less impressive win, but also kind of epic win over Oscar Otte. Shapovalov proved to be another step up and one that Murray couldn't reach. I don't know how much recovery played in here, but I do know what I saw, which was that Denis Shapovalov at the level he was playing at. I don't know that Murray has that level right now. So let's talk a little bit about the Canadian's performance. He is my pick to make the semifinal pre-tournament. I'm sticking with it. He gets Roberto Bautista Agut next. Those two have never played. Just a quick note on that matchup before I get into this one is that the reason I picked Shapovalov over Bautista Agut is not that I respect Shapo as a grass court player more than I do RBA. Not the case at all. And not really a pick based on form either. It's a pick based on the matchup when it comes to directionals, that Bautista really gains a large advantage from trading his cross-court backhand to the right-handed backhand. He gains a lot of advantage from that, and most of his attacks also then follow by setting up the inside-out forehand or secondarily the inside-in forehand. I don't know how much progress RBA is going to be able to make on the ad side of the court against a player like Shapo, because that's his forehand, and it's obviously a big forehand and a good forehand. So I much prefer players who can attack the deuce side of the court against Shapo to try to break down that backhand, which is the side that can bleed errors on a much more regular basis, and a side that he does not defend as well. So that's why I have Shapo moving on. But what really impressed me about this performance, and it was one of the best slam performances that I've ever seen out of Denis Shapovalov, was the margin in his baseline game. That was the key for me, because obviously the Canadian is a huge hitter. He absolutely destroys the ball off of both wings. Unfortunately, what has held him back is his lack of discipline and the number of errors that has come off his racket on a regular basis throughout most of his matches. And the reason he was able to play clean enough in this match, and he really did play clean. If you look at his unforced error count, he made... Wait, I'm on just set 3 right now. In the entire match, he made 24 unforced errors compared to 44 winners. Well, how was he able to play so clean? To me, it was the targets he was choosing. He was playing a lot of balls through the middle of the court, and even when he was ramping up the aggression and looking to play closer to the line, oftentimes it was still on the cross court, on the lower part of the net, and with more court to hit into with the baseline a little bit further away, especially early on when he was still feeling out his timing and he wanted to be a little bit safer. He was really choosing the safer targets on the court, but it wasn't safe because he hits so big, he hits so massive, so he can choose the bigger targets, but his pace of shot is still going to make it a highly damaging, highly effective shot. You just don't get the unforced errors with it. He panicked for a second in the first set and got away from that and went down the line too much, made a lot of errors, but he was able to pull out a clutch hold. And then from that point on, I thought he was clear-headed again, choosing the safe targets and limiting his unforced errors by hitting really big through the middle of the court. And by the way, when he went down the line, it was it then became such a surprise tactic that Murray was not really ready for it and wasn't really anticipating it. And then he got more payoff when he landed his down the line shots, and he didn't need to aim as close to the line to hit them. So it is a win-win situation, all good in the hood. Denis Shapovalov hitting cross court through the middle is just a better Denis Shapovalov in my opinion. So he did that well. The second key to the match for me was Shapo's second serve, which really saved him in especially sets 1 and sets 2, because in set 1, he made 42% of his first serves. In set 2, he made 57% of his first serves. But it wasn't until set 3 that he actually served a good percentage and made 68% of his first serves. But to only be broken one time in set 1, really with making 42% of first serves, highly impressive stuff. And through 2 sets, he was winning about 68% of his second serve points. So that was a major key that he was able to protect his second serve. Averaging 99 miles per hour on his second serve. Hitting 2 aces in the first 2 sets. Something like 2 aces, 3 double faults. So not a bad ratio for a second serve. And it was a real key for him, how big he was able to hit the second serve without double faulting. With that being said, I also think that Murray should be returning better. That is one of the areas where I think Andy Murray has become an ordinary player. And of course, in his prime, it was extraordinary. The return of serve was one of his great strengths. And I almost think that that's been a bigger problem for Murray on this kind of last stretch of his career, post-hip resurfacing. I feel like that's been a bigger issue for him compared to his ability to cover the court and move. Is he a half a step slower when he's covering the court in a baseline rally? Yes, but he's still pretty mobile, pretty fast, can still run. I think the bigger problem is that his return of serve is just not putting as much pressure on his opponents. And he really should have broken Denis Shapovalov more than 2 times in the first 2 sets, given Denis's awful first serve percentage. Not awful, but at least bad. I don't know if awful's too harsh, but bad. But still, Shapo, 99 miles per hour on the second serves and not double faulting is a massive boon to his game. Shapo also had the aggressive returning, and we talked about Oscar Ota and what he was able to do with his aggressive returning on Andy Murray's serves, and I think Denis was able to do the same thing. The last thing is the pace of shot discrepancy that was in this match, and I think that is another kind of problem that Andy Murray is having right now, is that with the decline of his movement from the baseline, I just don't think he's going after his rally balls enough. Against Shapo, the only way to really blunt his pace is to rush him. It's pretty much the only way. The amount of racket head acceleration that Shapovalov has, even if you're getting the ball low and using your slice, keeping it low and short in the court, that doesn't really work because his acceleration is too much. Obviously, depth can help, but it's really pace. If you can rush Shapo, you draw the errors. Murray did it pretty well when he was on the comeback trail during the first set, just hitting a little bit bigger. But ultimately, Shapovalov, at least in the second set, was averaging about 79 miles per hour off of both wings. Andy Murray on his forehand was averaging 74 miles per hour. On the backhand was averaging like 71 or something like that. So on the backhand, massive discrepancy. It might have been 70 or 69. But on the forehand, 74. I remember that number very specifically. And I don't think that's enough to rush Shapo on the other side of the court. You're just not going to get enough errors. You're not going to make Shapo feel uncomfortable enough if he's hitting his backhand 5 miles per hour faster than you're hitting your forehand. And I just think Murray needs a little bit more Andrei Rublev in him. And he's never going to be full Rublev. I'm not saying he should be like Rublev. I'm just saying he needs to take 25 to 50% of Andrei Rublev's baseline mentality, or Nadal's baseline mentality, on the forehand at least. And it's never been how he's played. So I understand I'm suggesting something rather radical for Murray, but you gotta swing harder. You gotta try to do a little bit more, because you're not defending well enough anymore to beat a player as good as Shapovalov with the way you're hitting, with the level of aggression you're bringing to the tennis court. So that's kind of my 2 cents on Murray. It's also just a matter of how good Shapovalov was when he was afforded the time. He just wasn't rushed enough in this match to feel uncomfortable, with the exception of the end of the first set. So it was really cruise control for the Canadian. He looked absolutely outstanding, though. From the baseline, on his second serve, 3 points on his first serve when he made it. He needs to stop tossing the ball to Narnia, because when he doesn't toss the ball to Narnia, the serve looks decent, and every part of his game is firing. He's looking more and more comfortable. He's a good volleyer when he gets up there as well, even though he doesn't move forward that often. And the return of serve was really good. Let me just see. Murray first serve points won percentage. I think it's pretty low for the match. Match summary. Win on first serve was 51% for Andy Murray. So I don't know. I mean, RBA and Murray, they have similar level of serves. We'll see if RBA is tougher in the rallies. But God, Shapovalov, for the returning trouble he's had for that number, I mean, that's pretty good. Murray averaging about 115 miles per hour on his first serve. That is impressive. So look out for Shapo. He is in the quarter of opportunity. You have Korda and not Korda and FAA. You have Korda and Khachanov is the other round of 16 matchup. So then it'll be RBA and Shapovalov. So that's an interesting quarter. I almost said Korda. An interesting quarter, and we will continue to watch what happens there. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.